let's now talk about the session that is going to be crucial, which is the budget session, which starts from the end of January. We've got the union budget slated for the 1st of February. Today, we've got the CSO put out the advance estimates of the GDP coming in at a 4-year low. This is the lowest that we've seen since FY14. Aditi Fadnis, how do you see the budget session panning out? The question is, will there be fiscal profligacy? Will there be fiscal prudence? Will they stick to 3.2%? Will there be a minor slippage? Is it going to be an agri-focused budget which seems to take care of the message that the Gujarat election sent out? How do you see the budget session progressing?
We now know that the budget will be tabled on the 1st of February. As always, there will be an economic survey. The railway budget will be part of the main budget. After that, we have to see what figures the government presents. The Congress has been remarkably quiet on reports that the fiscal deficit is going to be breached. There's been not a peep from the Congress, anyone. No one has commented so far, which means...
But Mr. Chidambaram seems to be, raising those issues there, and it was addressed by the Finance Minister in Parliament yesterday as well, saying that, look, we've brought down the deviations on fiscal deficit from the highs that the UPA had brought us to, and even if there is a slippage, now we're talking about discussing minor slippages.
All I'm saying is there may be a slippage, but the Congress is not accusing yet anybody of anything yet.
Okay.
So I suspect that when they see the final figures, and we know that today the RBI has advanced the government some money, they've offered...
it's not a done deal yet, but that's the assumption.
That's the general impression. And that is the only way to go, frankly. So we don't know yet what the fiscal deficit situation is going to be.
Okay.
And also, I think there are some concerns about rising oil prices. So those things will have to be addressed in the budget as well. As you say, it's going to be an agri-oriented budget, which is as it should be, because, I mean, there have been firings on farmers, so you need to address those issues. We'll have to see the taxation part. We don't really know that yet. But if there is going to be anything like a UBI, then I think
a universal basic income scheme, which is something that the economic survey presented by Arvind Subramaniam, the chief economic advisor, had floated that idea. Will it be introduced even in a pilot fashion in the budget?
Well, it's been accepted by the Jammu and Kashmir government and they have decided to roll it out.
Will we see more on that in the budget is the question. Gaurav Gogoi, strategy for the budget session and expectations from the union budget, more importantly.
Well, first of all, quick rebut to GVL. I think all these personal remarks against Rahul Gandhi only shows their brittle egos and how fragile their egos are. Secondly, I disagree with Aditi's assessment of the Congress strategy. We've been quite hard on the BJP on the economy. We've been talking about a 2% drop in the GVA, gross value added. We've talked about jobs not being created, the low private investment, the state of NPAs. And clearly the economy now being at 6.5% only shows that how BJP is harming India's interests by the economic mismanagement. It's unfortunate when the entire world, global world, is recovering and posting good and positive growth figures. India seems to be the only economy amongst the major and emerging economies that is going in the opposite trend. And that just shows the mismanagement of the BJP. Going forward, we've been focusing on how the rural economy has completely been ignored. This micro, small and medium industries where most jobs are being created has been completely being ignored. Skill development and education, two things which are critical to our demographic, has not been given sufficient attention. The Ministry of Skill Development have gone back for the initial targets. So all of this, along with the global rise in oil prices, seems to be that the government is not putting its head together. They are always in election mode and not at all in governance, and not at all interested in governance.
All right. GVL Narasimha, I could see you smiling through the argument that Gaurav Gogoi was presenting. So I know you're ready for the kill, so to speak. So go ahead, GVL.
No, you see, the party that had completely mismanaged the economy and the economic doctors of the Congress like Dr. Manmohan Singh and Chidambaram, which made it one of the 5 fragile economies of the world. I think today they think economy is really not doing well. When the whole world concurs with the fact that we are the brightest spot in the world, the growth projections of all financial institutions are very attractive. After 13 years, you have a credit rating that has improved. Like so I think all fundamental parameters are good. And a massive reform like GST certainly has really hurt our growth for a quarter. And also, but this is a short-term pain for a long-term gain. So certainly the economy is in a takeoff mode. We are doing far better today. Inflation has been under control, well below the RBI mandated level of 5%. And Congress, what did the Congress party give us? A 4% growth rate under 10% inflation. And they think they have governed the country very well.
No, 1 second. No, not entirely accurate, the numbers that you're throwing away, GVL. But
GDP
let's 4 and 9.
No, let's just talk about we've got the data today. It's FY18 numbers put out by the government, by the CSO, 6.5% GDP, 6.1% GVA. So GVL Narasimha Rao, that is the data and it speaks for itself. Let's now talk about what we should realistically expect as far as the budget session is concerned. You've got pending legislation like triple talaq, etc., that will be taken forward in the budget session. But more importantly, all eyes on the union budget. This is going to be the first post-GST budget, GVL. What should we expect?
I think it will be a great budget. That's all I can tell you. It will certainly be a growth-oriented budget because after we have reformed our sector,
let me ask you a different question. Let me ask you a different question because I know that you won't be able to give us a great insight into what the budget will have. But what would you like the budget to focus on? We've talked about agriculture, and even as far as today's data is concerned, agricultural growth estimate about a little over 2%, which is the big concern. What is it that you would like the budget to focus on?
No, certainly. You see, the focus of this budget will be, as I said, on growth, on increasing certainly the demand, and certainly we need more growth in rural sector so that you have greater demand coming from rural areas. So I think you have seen a series of steps being taken even in the last 6 months. You've seen how on the one hand bank recapitalization has been proposed, and on the other public investments in the rural sector, in infrastructure sector that have already been speeded up. And I certainly will see a continuation. This budget will see a continuation of that focus. Public investments and also greater investments in agriculture, enhancing rural demand and increasing the growth potential overall. I think these are things which are definitely likely to happen because that's how this country, that's how the last 3 budgets have focused, and this country, that momentum will continue.
Well, we will find out on the 1st of February when the Finance Minister presents the union budget. But for today, we'll have to leave it here. Gaurav Gogoi, GVL Narasimha Rao, Aditi Fadnis, thanks very much for joining us. There was no acrimony, or at least not a lot of acrimony on this show. We actually had a meaningful conversation, which is the hope that the Vice President has, that even Parliament will see less acrimony and more meaningful conversation and legislation. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18.